Hello writer, and welcome back to my life. It's Writer Wednesday, the day that I give you my tips and advice on the art and the business of writing and tell you how I do what I do as an indie author. First off, let's just acknowledge, yes, this video is a day late. I'm posting it on Thursday. It's been a very busy week. If you watch my public videos on the channel, you know why. I apologize. Let's continue. Today's question comes from patron Sam Reeves, who asks, our main characters need to have a story arc, which means that presumably they need to grow over the course of our story, but we don't want to start them off so weak or so wimpy that the reader doesn't want to read about them. So how do you create a main character who the reader can get invested in, but who still has room to grow through the course of the book or series? So the simplest key explanation for this is that our main character, and really any character, because all of your major characters should have arcs through the course of the book, they need to have things that are right about them and things that are wrong about them. The things that are wrong about them are what a lot of people, I feel like, tend to focus on more, like what is the growth that this character needs to go through? What are they going to handle? What are they going to change about themselves, as well as the external world that's going to make their journey interesting? But they also need to have things that are right about them, things that make them cool and unique and make the reader get invested in what journey this person is going to go on. And the balance between these two is what's going to create a really interesting character. I've read this advice somewhere. I don't remember for sure where I read it. I think it might be in this book, Techniques of the Selling Writer by, Dwight V. Swain. I don't know for sure because this book, while very, very interesting and valuable, is very dry and a little bit hard to get through, so I've only read it once. I will get back through it at some point, but it's very difficult to force myself to get back through it again. I do recommend that you read it and study it. It is a lot of valuable information. It's some work to get through. But the advice is essentially that your character should be a specialist. They should be really, really good at one or a few things. Because if somebody is really good at something, we tend to think that's cool. Now, of course, you want to pick their specialization based on something that your ideal reader will find interesting. I've talked before about this, and I'll try to remember to put a card up there so that you can go find the video, but you should always have your ideal reader in mind. You should actually create reader profiles that you use to sort of guide everything that you're doing. And once you know who your ideal reader is, if you really understand them on a very core level, you're going to know what they would find appealing. A really, really simple example is if you're writing epic fantasy like I am, your main character can be a really great swordsman. That's kind of cool. Like, hey, they're really, really good at sword fighting. For other genres, the specialization might be different, and you can take a look through your favorite stories and see what is the main character's specialization. In the world of spy thrillers, the specialization might be combat, or it might be stealth, or it might be like really, really good at sniping. Like everything else just sort of fair to middling, but like the person's a really good sniper. In sci-fi, you might have somebody who's really good with computers, or a really good spaceship pilot, but they've got their one thing that they're really, really good at. And if you sort of build a lot of opportunities to use that specialization into your story, your reader will be like, oh, that's cool. I can't wait to see them use that again. And that gets them invested in the character. But then you have to contrast that with what are they bad at? What are they going to grow at as a person through the course of the story? And to be most effective in this regard, the specialization should usually be something external, something that happens in the physical universe, something that they can do physically, while their weakness should be something internal. It should be an emotional conflict, or an inability to connect with people emotionally at all, or just some bias that they have to overcome in order to be a better member of whatever society they're a member of. The thing that's wrong with them could also be an unresolved situation, like an upset, like maybe they are estranged from their wife or some other family member, and that is the sort of thing that will pull them on the emotional journey and give them the opportunity to grow through the course of the story. What is good about Harry Potter? Well, he's kind, and he's brave, and he's very innately gifted at certain aspects of magic. Not all of them, but like flying on a broomstick. He's just the best. That's cool. We like to read about people who are brave and kind, and the fact that he is, basically a star sports player from the very first time that he tries it is cool and interesting. It gives a through line for all 7 of the books that's sort of like always this factor that's going on with Harry Potter. Everybody knows he's just God on a broomstick. But what's wrong with him? Well, He's been abused his whole life. He never knew who his parents were. Everybody in the world seems to know more about him and his history than he does. And that is something that he is able to grow into and slowly take more and more of it onto himself by the end of that series. The first Iron Man film, what's going on with Tony Stark? What's he really good at? Well, he's charming as hell. I mean, he's also kind of an asshole, but he pulls off the charming asshole thing very well, because he's Robert Downey Jr. And he's a frickin' genius inventor and engineer. When it comes to technology, he's just, again, he's God with technology. What's wrong with him? Oh boy, where do we start? Again, he's kind of an asshole. He's just, he doesn't seem to see other people as very real. He doesn't seem to see their conflicts and their troubles as being something that he should have anything to do with in any way. He's literally a war profiteer. That's not great, but his largest character flaw is the first thing that's dealt with very early on in the story. And his whole arc in the first film is overcoming his self-centeredness, his selfishness, his I am sort of, you know, the top dog and everything revolves around me, in order to actually do some good in the world and use his considerable talents, his considerable genius towards good, instead of just being self-serving all the time. That just shows you how to think about this, but whatever genre you're writing in, whatever properties in that genre are your personal favorites, things that made you want to write in the first place, go back and look at the main characters. Not just the main character, not just the protagonist, but the other major players in the story. What's right about them? What's wrong about them that allows them to continue to grow through the story while being interesting? Thank you so much to Sam for the question. I hope that you found the answer helpful. A reminder to everybody else watching this that Sam and my other $5 patrons on Patreon are the only ones who are able to request topics like these for me to cover in these videos, and they get all videos 2 weeks in advance of everyone else. So if that sounds interesting to you, check out my Patreon right over there. You can also see the entire Writer Wednesday playlist right up there. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next Wednesday. Bye!